Hello and welcome to another episode of Exponential Potential. And this month is a really hot topic. It's all about hot mess and women going through, and men actually, going through the menopause. And today I'm joined with our fabulous special guest and expert, Fiona Gehring. Hi, Fiona, how are you?
Hi Jen, very nice to meet you and have on today.
Thank you. And I'll just give you a quick intro. Fiona is the founder of Midpoint for Women, and she's got 25 years in the wellness and fitness industry. 25 years, that's quite a long time. You don't look old enough, Fiona.
I've just turned 50, so I'm definitely old enough.
Congratulations, happy birthday.
Thank you.
So you reached your midpoint in 2020. You realized that you were going through menopause, and from that she's become really passionate about helping women to accept the change and challenges that life brings at this point in their lives. Her mission is to support women going through perimenopause and menopause and midlife. And she has this incredible program that she will share later on in the show, which gives women the tools to navigate the journey so they can really truly find themselves again, improve their self-belief, and give them permission to live and enjoy life. She also is an amazing advocate for raising awareness in the workplace around menopause and midlife. So welcome, Fiona. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm looking forward to all the things that your experience, your insights that you're going to share today.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you very much for having me on.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So today is all about navigating menopause and midlife with positivity. So I'd like to know, I mean, as a 50-year-old woman, what has been your experience with perimenopause and menopause? When did you start to realize that was happening?
Well, thank you. Effectively, I work for the Metropolitan Police in London, and I have done that for 22 years. So I'm surrounded by men in a male-dominated environment, and I work in that environment with no fear. And 5 years ago, things started to change. And when you are strong and confident, and that's not egotistical, it's just you're confident in your abilities and you're quite strong-willed, and suddenly, and very rarely making mistakes. I mean, very rarely. We all make mistakes, but very rarely making mistakes. And you suddenly feel that there are changes happening to your body and mind, which was what was happening to me. And I didn't feel I could talk to anybody. I didn't want to tell my boss. My boss works in a different he works in central London. I work outside London on my own. And I just tried to flounder my way through this process without actually having any understanding what was going on. Were coming through lockdown. So I started to think, was it lockdown? And I was thinking, well, surely I'm not being affected by that, because I don't normally have any issues with working on my own and things, and I deal with things and deal with stress quite well. But suddenly there was changes, and I wasn't coping with those changes. I was making mistakes. On a very personal front, I was bleeding horrendously, and it was so hard, not just in general, let alone in a work environment. And I was going into work every day, because obviously a police service is a 24/7 service. So there wasn't a work from home option for me. And I didn't tell anybody, and I just kind of became went into my shell. And people noticed, but didn't really think didn't say anything, because obviously maybe they just thought I was having a moment. But that moment was going on and on and on. And eventually I broke, and I sat on the bathroom floor here at home, sobbing my eyes out, because I just thought, I don't understand what's happened to me over a 6-month window. And it literally felt physical and mental crash.
Right. So what was it that you were, other than the horrific bleeding, what other symptoms were you experiencing?
I literally thought I was going, like, I thought I had dementia because my brain fog was horrendous. I was, people that have known me for many years within the police, obviously my work environment at the time, and it still is. But I know their names, and I literally couldn't remember their names. They stood in front of me. They've got a name badge on. I've read it, and I've got, by the time I've gone to put pen to paper, I've forgotten their name. And of course, to them, that just looked weird. Why would I not? And I was like, literally say, I'm sorry, what was your name again? And they've got a name badge on, and I just couldn't process. And it's to think that suddenly I couldn't remember anything. Obviously, the physical changes. I put weight on. I've always been quite chunky because I'm an ex-rugby player and ex-athlete. I've always been very strong and powerful, but suddenly my muscle mass, literally, it was like it in 6 months it went away. And that's not completely, obviously, but physically the muscle mass changed so much and the tone changed so much. There was no burning calories, and so the ability to burn calories was depleted, so therefore I ended up putting weight on. And most people realise that 70 to 80% of women put weight on during their menopause journey. So if their body shape changes, their confidence and self-esteem changes, which is something that, in not just in a male environment, but I'm a physical training instructor. I stand in front of people and I'm meant to not look good, because what is good at the end of the day, but it was different, and it was very different to how I'd been. And it wasn't just age, I didn't look at it just as an aging process. There was a huge change and a shift, and it affects my confidence, my self-esteem, my ability to stand in front of people, because I could forget and I worried and got anxious. I'd never struggled with any of that previously.
It's a lot to go through, and quite quickly. It came on quite quickly.
Very.
Yeah.
And I think that was the unnerving thing, is that what I saw went from absolutely fine, normal, to really in a low point, and I'd never experienced that mental or physical change, unstableness, and I didn't know how to cope.
So do you think if you'd have known more about it beforehand, what was potentially can happen to our bodies, which affects, and our minds, would that have made a big difference for you?
Oh, 100%. 100%. And that's where I'm so passionate about now, and as many people are trying to increase that awareness. Because the one thing I would say is, if we want change, we want people to change so that it's not a shock what's happened. You have that's why it's called Tools to Navigate the Journey, because if you've got those tools, but you're much more aware of them earlier on in your life, you may be able to deal with things that are coming better, and therefore reduce the impact. You're still going to go through the process, because at the end of the day, it's a natural process that every person who's born female will go through. But yeah, 100%. But the one thing I would say is, it's very difficult, because I think a lot of people still have the mindset that it won't bother me, I won't need to worry about it until I get older. But if you are aware of it, it won't have the impact that potentially the negative impact that it is having on so many women.
I'd love to know your view on this, because I dropped a bomb in our first episode around menopause, and it was quite controversial. And as you say, it's a completely natural process, and every woman that's born a woman that hasn't had that surgery will go through it. It's like you say, it's a natural process, it's a natural state of being. And sort of the controversial, the statement that I made was, menopause isn't the problem. The problem is potentially our lifestyles. Although what you're saying is really interesting, because you don't have stress in your life, even though the environment that you work in, you are confident, you are together, you don't allow stress to phase you, because especially because of the environment that you're in, you can't allow that to happen. And one of my thoughts is, well, stress heightens that. So it's not necessarily the menopause that throws us out, it's potentially our lifestyle. But in your case, you had real physical symptoms, which had nothing to do with stress levels. and lifestyle.
No, at that point, and for many years, I would say everything's been not perfect, because what's perfect, but has been reasonably pretty well controlled and managed, and everything was just running along nicely. And literally, it was like being hit by literally hitting like a steam train. And that 6 months rocked my world physically and mentally. And then I struggled to cope because I'd never experienced anything like that before, ever. Obviously, I've gone through bereavement. Of course, most people have, and it's very upsetting and devastating, and we deal with it. But there's things we've maybe coped with and managed in our lives, but this was something else. And if I'd known what was coming, then at least I would have been more prepared about what is going to happen to my body as I get older.
Potentially could happen, because it's very different, isn't it?
Yeah.
As women, we are all very unique, and it impacts us in very, very different ways.
100%.
So it's not anything to be frightened of.
No,
you have the tools and the awareness.
Yeah, and that's what I feel is really important, is to help women get those tools and give them those, to set them out so they've got a tool belt around their waist effectively, or over their shoulder, however they want to do it, Tomb Raider style or something. And they know when they come up to that, they can use that tool, they can pull that tool out, utilize it, help them manage that time in their life. Because ultimately, as we all know, it's not one size fits all. Everybody's journey is their own. And what they deal with today might be completely different to what they're dealing with in 3 years' time or 5 years' time, or they're post-menopause and they're still dealing with the offset of maybe some of the symptoms they've had earlier on in their journey.
It's interesting that somebody like you, and when I say somebody like you, I mean strong, fit, confident, went through this. It's almost like this is what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah,
because you're the perfect person. I mean, one of my questions is, I'd love to know, what was the sort of, why did you decide, other than your experience, what was it that you realized, actually, I want to really help other women with menopause and help them navigate this with more ease and manage the symptoms? And
because obviously I've been in the industry for 25 years, as I said, and, working in the male environment, I obviously have I don't have that many females around me, and the females that are around me are mostly very strong, confident, fit individuals, and they're dealing with very stressful situations and having to cope with all of that, and being in that environment for so long. And I think if it affects me like this, and I'm not a police officer, I'm a member of staff, so I'm not on the front line. So if they're dealing with, or if they're, especially with police officers, if they're dealing with principals, if you're dealing with Camilla, the king's wife, the queen, if you're dealing with her or somebody else, you're going to parties, you need to understand how to cope with your own symptoms, but also understand that there may be people in an environment that you're in that also may be going through some challenging, and make that journey for them a little bit safer going forward. And outside work, obviously, I'm surrounded by female friends who we're all the same sort of age bracket, even though we know that people can go through it much, much earlier and may have a very smooth journey. And it's kind of wonder what all the mess is around. I mean, I spoke to somebody yesterday and she said, I've gone through this and I really barely noticed it. And I was like, don't hold it against other people because you found it a smooth journey, because I know other people that are literally at rock bottom because of the symptoms and their lifestyle.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. And you mentioned men there, that you work in a very male dominated environment. Why is it important for men to have a good understanding of menopause?
Couple of reasons. Divorce rate is really high between the ages of 45 and 55, give or take. That's, you don't, obviously if you need to get divorced, that's so it happens, but there is a huge impact on lives at this window, predominantly at this window of time. And that could be stress, that could be empty nest syndrome, that can be parents getting sick or family members getting sick, and all these things tend to come at the same sort of time. So there's a lot of pressure, and some people maybe stay together because they've had children and they've stayed together because of that, and then realise that they're a little bit older now, they can go their separate ways. But men, like women don't understand what's going to happen. So how on earth are men meant to understand? And I feel it's become a real passion and a real driving force for me to try and really reach out to men during their journey, because they are all linked to women, either at home or at work. Sisters, family members, partners, whatever the combination is, they are all linked to women. And if 51% of the population are going to go through this at some point, and they've all got daughters, and if they've got daughters or friends have got daughters or nieces, the importance of understanding now will change for the future. And if those men can understand, I've just delivered between October and Christmas, I've delivered some workshops to the firearms instructors in the Metropolitan Police. And so it was nearly 340, somewhere like that, 330, 25 men and 18 women, something like that. And the feedback, it was compulsory. If they'd been asked, would you like to go? It was a 2.5-hour talk, so it was long. And if they would have been asked to come, most of them would have gone home or gone to the gym or gone and done something else. Some would have come, of course, but it was compulsory. And the feedback was phenomenal. To the point I even had emails from females in the job who were their wives or partners saying, thank you so much for talking to my husband. He came home, we have had a conversation. I'm not there yet, but at least I know he will understand and I can talk to him about this. Because there's no point sticking your head in the sand. It will affect every single person to some degree, because everybody will go through it. And men have their own changes as well. And I do talk about that in my workshops, especially if it's a male dominant group, because once they see they're going through some changes and they realise what their partners are going through or work colleagues are going through, there will be more of an understanding. And it's really powerful. I've had a couple of guys say to me that their wives have now post-menopause, and they've actually apologised to their wife for not giving them the support or empathy that they deserved and needed at the time. One of them did say his wife was particularly rude to him when he apologised, and I said, well, what did you expect? But but at least he apologised. At least he's gone home and gone, I'm really sorry. I just didn't realise. But how do they realise if we don't realise?
Yeah, exactly. And I always say, most of us aren't mind readers. So if you're not having those conversations with your partners and not creating the understanding, and maybe you create understanding together.
Yeah.
Do you have couples come on your programs, your workshops together?
Not really. It's more corporate. It's more corporate stuff, or community work and so on and so forth. So, I mean, obviously, partners could come. I did a community workshop, and just earlier in the year, and a guy did come along. But it's quite a daunting experience to come along to something that you don't know anything about. You know that the demographic is probably going to be predominantly women. Mm-hmm. That's why I thought it was very forward thinking of the boss where I work to actually make it compulsory.
Yeah.
Because and people emailed him and said thank you for doing what you've done, and I've been overwhelmed by that, because it's changing lives. And I say to people about reconnecting with each other. So some of my talk for them was, when was the last time you did something with your wife, not just with the kids and so on and so forth, and making an effort. And I don't mean a naughty weekend away. I just mean, going for a walk, and having a conversation other than the children or other than work, so that you reconnect. Because I think that connection is super, super important, because having a closed door about conversation is not going to help anybody.
No, and I think, like you said, it brings, when we create understanding, it creates far better relationships.
Yeah, and strength.
So so understanding for both men and women is really key, and it is incredible that the Metropolitan Police did that and made it compulsory. That's, like you say, really progressive.
Yeah, it was only one small group, but it's a start.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a start.
yeah, one of our other episodes is Alex from Andy's club, and he has he's incredible. He's gone out of his way to understand the menopause, and he's helping his wife understand it. And then he goes into Andy's club. Maybe that's a little in for you as well, Fiona. He goes into they have conversations, and all the men are kind of squirming and going, oh no. But it is crucial when you're in a relationship with someone who's having difficulties, or having symptoms.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's so key.
Yeah, no, definitely. I
Yeah.
think it's probably been one of, it's everything that I do and everything that everybody else is doing is obviously fantastic. It's going forward. It's going the right direction and making changes and helping people. But I think we have to support everybody,
Yes,
because
absolutely.
everybody is going to be impacted to some degree, directly or indirectly.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you share some advice, some of your tools, or just and insights to help our listeners navigate through this journey and this time in their lives?
I actually got asked that question by the ex-commissioner of the Met, Cressida Dick, and on her very last day in office. And I said to her, drink more and try not to get too stressed.
Drink more what?
Drink more water, not alcohol. And then she switched off. No, she asked me what my top. She said, "What would you be your?"
Yeah.
She actually asked me on her last day, "What would you be your top tip?" As she was
Yes.
walking out the door,
Yeah.
and I said, "Drink more water and reduce stress," because stress impacts so much. Water is the process in your body. Every process in your body, every function needs fluid, as in water. So staying hydrated impacts your brain, obviously the ability to exercise, so on and so forth. I used to, as a physical training instructor, be all about exercise and nutrition and pretty much didn't care about much else. And there's been a big shift, and I'm honest with people and I say actually now I'm looking at, making sure you're drinking water, thinking about your mindset, so relaxation, breath work, all these things to try and reduce the stress and anxieties. Obviously nutrition, healthier eating, because it's not you are what you eat, because I eat lots of things and I haven't turned into a piece of pasta yet, or a bean, but it's, they do say that, but exercise is super important, but so is rest.
Yeah.
And I think if I'm talking to a 30-year-old or a 20-year-old, they don't understand what it's going to be like. They can't understand what it's like to be 40, 45, 50, 60, whatever. They can't. And it's trying to just help people understand. And I say to people a lot, how would you tell the 30-year-old you or the 20-year-old you? And they go, I don't know, I just ignore it. And I said, that's why we've got to do what we're doing, because we've got to make people understand that smashing yourself in the gym, exercising so much, there has to be a payoff to that. And you have to, because otherwise you end up like me, having to have a hip replacement at 48, because it's broken and I didn't look after it. And so it's the whole holistic approach around nutrition, exercise, and reducing that stress in whichever way you want to. And you've got to find what fits for you, because until not long ago breath work was breath work, and now I realise the important. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And I was like,
oh, that's just fluffy, but it's
well,
powerful
it's
stuff.
so powerful, and being open-minded to changing your perception of what something is.
Yes,
And I think that's really, really important.
Yes. Yeah, because we all have these perceptions, like you say, the breathwork thing or meditation, and not everybody can meditate, but there are many, many, many different ways where you can. I mean, even going for a walk and being really present is a form of meditation.
100%. Even go for a walk and listen. Don't put AirPods in and listen to something. Although listen to this, obviously. Listen to the birds. Listen to what's the sounds around you, and focus on those things. And it's a real shift in mindset, I think.
Yes. And I think it's interesting because there's a lot of women that are, very, high achieving women, for example, and they are constantly go, 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 push, push, push. And this is kind of a whoa. This is an opportunity to take a step back and go, hang on a minute, my body is shouting at me that I need to be different. I need to do different things.
But I think women who are in those positions, and I would have, even though I wasn't at the time, I wasn't in a high position, powerful position or anything, or making $1 million decisions, etc., etc. But it's when you are on that treadmill, it is so difficult to see that something else could be positive for you and supportive of you to allow your journey to continue, because otherwise potentially you could crash and make mistakes. And so many, I mean, we know that so many women, there's a huge percentage of women leave their jobs during their journey. And if only they'd had the support, or if only they'd allowed themselves to take some guidance, and if they have that guidance, they can choose which tool they want to take out their armory to help them continue on their journey. But they will need to, they do need to do it, and it's realizing how important it is for them to continue in their journey, and it's not a weakness to ask for support.
No, in fact, I think it's a strength to be able to say, you know what, I can't do this by myself, I need help. It really is. So tell us about the program that you offer.
Where do I start? No, so the business is effectively 3 prongs. So it has a 12-week online support program, which is based around supporting women going through their menopause and midlife journey. That is only for women, and it can be funded, self-funded, or it can actually now be employer funded, which is something I've started this year. So I've had a couple of companies have actually paid for their staff to come onto the program, whether it's been 1 or 2 people or whether it's been bigger numbers, and it's delivered online, and it has 11 contributors. So I'm not an expert in mental health, okay? I'm a mental health first aider, yes, but I'm not a mental. So know your strengths, know your weaknesses, and so I have these contributors. So I have pelvic floor specialist, nutrition, cognitive hypnotherapy, breath work, colour and style. People say, why have you got a colour and style consultant? I said, because if you've put on weight and your body shape's changed, understand what clothes or what patterns or what colour is going to help you feel better about yourself, whilst you either decide to maybe try and change your body shape better to how you'll feel more comfortable, or address it and just go, do you know what, this is the new me, and I've got to be okay with that. Because especially some of these ladies that will be watching this, you know, you're powerful women and you want to look good, stand out, do your thing. If you're cringing inside about how you look, that's going to come out somehow. So own it, and that might be changing your clothing and what you're wearing, and that's why I have a colour and style specialist. So it's all delivered online. And it's a full timetable. It's not just 1 session a week. Somebody asked me the other day, is it just 1 session a week? I was like, nope, it's a whole timetable. But because it's online, it's delivered live. But if somebody, say at 2 o'clock in the morning, you're in a different country and you want to do it at 2 o'clock in the morning, you can, and that's daytime for you, you can just click on it and just watch the session on a record. So it gets put on the next day as a recorded session. And that's the 12-week online support program. It is amazing. It's been running for 3 years. We're just about to start program 13. Hopefully it's not unlucky for anybody. And it's also a community of women. So the women are the contributors. You can have access to them out with the program if you want to as well. But obviously that's for you to organise. But it gives you access to all these people, and pick and choose which tool you want. So if you know that you need some pelvic floor advice, roll with the pelvic floor advice and a bit of nutrition and maybe a bit of fitness. And if you then 6 weeks later you think, oh, actually, what was that about breath work? And you go back and you can do the breath work. And it's all under one umbrella, which everyone has said. It's like an opportunity. Somebody said it was an opportunity to dip in and out at your leisure. And I thought that was a really lovely way of putting it. I was actually somebody who was on the programme. As well as a programme, I deliver workshops to corporate companies, community events, pretty much anybody that's wanting to support their staff or organisation. That can be male delegates, that can be female delegates, literally anybody at all. It's bespoke, so I do tailor everything I do to whatever company or organisation it is. And that's something I feel is important. I'll ask whoever's booking it, give me a bit about the company, because I did it to a group of social workers. And obviously, and foster carers. People tend to foster children when they're older. So because they're maybe more stable in their base, or the kids have grown up. And so it was really important for me to understand, and I got some stats to do with social work and stats to do with foster caring, so I could incorporate that into my talks. So it is bespoke. And I also collaborate with other people. In fact, I'm just about to do, God help me, a 10-date tour with a lady called Menopause, Middle Age Madness in the UK. So I'm doing 10 dates where she'll talk the gory details of her experiences of being a middle-aged woman and having children and so on and so forth. And I'll give some tips around the areas that people ask. And so she brings the funny and I'm meant to be bringing the serious, but unfortunately, I think it might be a really good humoured evening. So yeah, that's
Excellent.
yeah, it's fantastic.
Busy lady, but doing really great things. So how can people, I mean, we'll have your website, which will have a link to information about the programs and more information about you. But if someone wants to reach out to you, they've liked what they've heard and they feel that you could be a really good fit within an organization, to go and do some workshops, what's the best way to reach out to you, Fiona?
By email is probably the easiest option, and that's, if you pop that in the chat, that'd be great. It's info, it's all lowercase, info at midpoint, and it's a number 4 women.co.uk. That would be the best option. If you are on Facebook, social media, Facebook is my main platform, because a lot of women tend to use Facebook, and it makes it quite easy. The one thing I don't do, and I will be honest with people who are watching this, is I don't flood my Facebook or my website with lots of information around about menopause, because there are so many amazing people out there, and I do advocate for other companies, other organisations, other people, because they may have a whole team of people that want to put information out there, and science is moving so quickly. So it's important to signpost people to other people if it's necessary. But what I do will give somebody a really good experience and a positive look at how they can drive themselves forward if they were to get me to come online for either program, the program itself, or workshops. And there's a little bit of fun around them as well. So it's very engaging rather than just front loaded. So it can be done online and in person.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Fiona. That was amazing. And as I say, we'll put all those in Fiona's contact details and links in the description. If you've liked what you've heard, please share, like it, subscribe it. It's important. This topic especially is really important for other women. So please share it with your friends, because there's some really good tips in here and some really good resources through this month.
I am on LinkedIn as well, but only under Fiona Gehring rather than under Midpoint for
Okay, great. Thanks very much for watching, for listening. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.